Welcome to the dark. I collect stories people don't want to tell. Some are real. Some should have stayed hidden.
I moved into apartment 4B because it was cheap and quiet. The landlord explained the absolute condition of the building on day one. The apartment directly above mine, 5B, was completely sealed. It had sat entirely empty for 20 years. The rules regarding that space were incredibly strict. Nobody lived up there. The landlord possessed no keys for the deadbolts. The door itself, covered in a thick layer of flaking paint, hadn't so much as cracked open since 2006. So, when the first anomaly occurred, heavy footsteps tracking across the ceiling in the middle of the night, my brain immediately reached for a logical rationalization. I assumed I was hearing old copper pipes expanding, or the settling of a deteriorating foundation. But settling foundations do not follow a schedule. Every night, exactly at 2:14 a.m., the random creaks organize themselves into deliberate, rhythmic impacts. Step, pause, step. The impacts possessed mass and direction. They tracked cleanly from the ceiling above my hallway, out over the main living space, back toward the stairwell, and then paced in reverse, coming to a dead stop directly above my mattress. Then came the first physical interaction. 3 distinct, incredibly heavy knocks hammered down from the ceiling. Acting purely on exhausted reflex, I reached up and knocked on the drywall above me in return. The ceiling answered instantly. 3 more knocks. I froze in bed. The moment my knuckles hit the drywall, I realized I had signaled to the dark that I was listening. I had transformed the ceiling from a barrier into a gateway. At sunrise, I cornered the landlord, demanding he unlock 5B to see who had broken in. He refused, his expression completely blank. Instead, he detailed the history of a tenant named Daniel, who occupied 5B exactly 20 years prior. Daniel's residency established an unsettling historical paradox. He constantly called management, enraged by the sound of someone heavily pacing in the apartment below his. The problem was, at that specific time, my apartment, 4B, was totally unoccupied. The outcome of Daniel's complaints was sudden and final. He vanished on a Tuesday morning. His belongings remained entirely undisturbed. A half-drank cup of coffee sat on his kitchen table, and his front door was secured from the inside by 3 heavy deadbolts. And decided to subject the anomaly to an empirical test. I placed a digital audio recorder on my nightstand, hit record, and waited in silence. Right on schedule, at 2:14 a.m., the 3 knocks echoed from the ceiling, followed by pacing. The playback caught the heavy thuds from the ceiling, but buried underneath them was a second, lower frequency. A separate set of footsteps was pacing on my own floorboards, right next to the microphone, even though I had been the only one in the room. The entity had crossed the threshold of the ceiling. It was moving through the private space of my bedroom, while I lay completely still in the dark. I fast-forwarded to the absolute end of the file. Tucked into the final seconds of static was a single audio artifact. A dry, rasping whisper, spoken directly into the microphone. "He's downstairs." This schematic shows the physical impossibility of that statement. My unit, 4B, sits directly above the building's foundation. A straight vertical line drops from my floorboards directly into the concrete basement. There is no other downstairs to occupy. The moment I processed that fact, the physical phenomenon escalated. The slow, rhythmic footsteps returned to the ceiling in broad daylight, but their cadence shifted into a frantic, violent sprint, tearing back and forth across the plaster. Then a multi-directional assault began. 3 deafening knocks hammered against my front door. I checked the peephole. Empty hallway. Instantly, 3 knocks struck the ceiling. Then, 3 rapid impacts slammed outward from inside my closed bedroom closet. the voice from the tapes suddenly bled through the closet door, whispering, "Open it." When I instinctively shouted back, demanding to know who was there, the response dropped smoothly from the ceiling above my head. "I'm in 5B. The apartment had become a shifting, non-Euclidean cage. The entity was projecting itself from 3 directions at once, proving that physical distance no longer offered any protection. I abandoned the apartment instantly, running into the main hallway. The ancient elevator doors parted on their own, revealing the landlord standing inside. He looked completely paralyzed. Before I could say a word, he grabbed my arm and issued a desperate, trembling warning, begging me not to take the stairs up to the next floor. This wireframe model shows the physical reality of the building. From lobby to roof, there are only 4 levels. Apartment 5B does not exist. The sounds weren't coming from a floor above, but from the rotting, structural void wedged between the joists. I collected nothing from my room. I moved out that exact morning, severing my lease and fleeing under the assumption that geographical distance would guarantee my safety. 3 weeks later, an unknown number sent a single digital file to my phone. It was a photograph of my abandoned bedroom. The angle was impossible, a claustrophobic, top-down shot taken through a jagged rupture in the plaster, looking straight down onto my old mattress. Underneath the photo was a text message. "You left your bedroom light on." Out of sheer dread, I checked the public real estate listing for the building. Apartment 4B was back on the market, but the property description had a new legal addition: 5th floor access included. Recognizing an impossible space gives it power. It acts as an anchor point. By acknowledging the void above you and knocking back, you provide the entities occupying those decaying interstitial gaps the exact coordinates they need to find you.